Welcome back to the PT Graduate Podcast. Today, my guest, Lauren Parsons. Welcome, Lauren.
Thank you so much.
Great to have you here, Lauren, and thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Now, I've had a quick squiz through I've done some digging, and I like your Facebook title here. It's foodie, wife, mother, speaker, author, grateful human being who loves boosting health and wellness, but health and happiness, sorry.
Yes, that is me. Yeah, it's interesting. I looked at that a while ago actually and thought, oh, foodie. At the time, that must have been the most important thing in the list, foodie. Yes, I love my food. Yep, mum of 3, married to Maury, based in the Manawatu. Feel very grateful to have had a wonderful time in the area of personal training and training trainers at the New Zealand College of Fitness. And now I've really shifted and kind of morphed through various different things that I've done, but I love now speaking about workplace wellness. So I speak a lot about resilience and time management and performance at, conference keynotes, but mostly in-house with clients. So I love it. It's really varied and lovely to be here for a chat today. Thanks.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, some people will probably see your name on a social media platform that says Lauren Parsons, CSP. So give us a bit of a background as to what that means, because people may not know.
Yes, so CSP stands for Certified Speaking Professional, and I just received that designation last year, and essentially it's something that just is something that you have to show a certain level of professionalism. People review your videos, client testimonials, look at your business side of it, and then those that meet all the criteria can receive that designation, CSP. So I think I'm one of about 12 CSPs in New Zealand at the moment.
Okay, so not that many. It's surprising. Yeah. Is it quite a high bar? So does it require that ongoing commitment, I suppose, year on, year out? So you
it's really for
or just renew?
That their business is speaking rather than, there's a lot of great people out there that are doing something and then they might do the odd talk on the side. And I guess CSP is really people that are making their whole business, their career out of speaking. So you do need, financial requirements, things like that, number of clients, number of people you've spoken to, and, the level of material. So it's kind of looking at more the business side and the professionalism to be able to say, and I guess it's really just gives people peace of mind and confidence that if they book me in to do a keynote, nothing worse than booking a speaker and it doesn't come across well and it doesn't connect with the audience, So it gives people that are organizing conferences and in-house training that confidence that, okay, this person does know a little bit about what they're talking about and they're going to do a good job.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, well, you've cleared that one up nicely. So tell us a little bit about what you were doing prior to what you do now. I see your New Zealand Exercise Award there in the background, which is a community award. Yeah, tell us a bit about that and so the work you were doing then.
Yeah, well, I mean, even way back when I was the shy, unsporty kid at school, somehow when I went to university, a friend dragged me to an aerobics class, and after going a few times, they said, if anyone wants to be an instructor, just come and see us afterwards. So I did. I thought, oh, I could get paid to get fit. This will be good. And it kind of went from there that I was doing a business degree at the time, and I got really passionate about helping people boost their health and their well-being and seeing all the positive ripple that comes when you do look after yourself, your physical, mental well-being. So I moved down to Christchurch, got involved at an amazing fitness centre called Pro Fitness at the time, and I became first of all was the customer service manager, then the club manager, and then the HR manager for both clubs. We were 100 staff, a few thousand members. And so I got really passionate about training trainers. And my boss at the time, Steve Barry, he started a college called the New Zealand College of Fitness. So I then moved over there actually and got invited to become what was officially called a presenter of fun and laughter. That was literally on my name tag. So AKA a lecturer, but I was teaching anatomy, physiology, human performance, nutrition, in a really fun and advanced way, advanced adult learning techniques. So that was an amazing role. I loved that role. And it taught me a lot around some of the speaking delivery things that I still use today. My husband, Maury, we got married 21 years ago. And in those 21 years, the other fun fact, Rich, is that we have moved house 15 times in that time.
Good grief.
6 times internationally. So to and from France and Australia and Canada. And because of all that moving around, it's been really interesting for me that I've in some ways had to reinvent what I've been doing. So the theme all the way through has been helping people thrive. But I went on from being, having this background in human performance nutrition and a HR degree as well, which is about helping people thrive in
Mm.
an organization. And it's kind of come together in now focusing on speaking to groups. But I also, before that, for quite a number of years, ran a program called Get Fit, Feel Fabulous, which
Okay.
was, I loved it. It was a group personal training model where rather than just doing one-on-one clients, I did group sessions and
Yeah.
we had a lot of fun. We played a lot of games, did a bit of boxing, did a lot of evening events in between. It was like a 12-week program with evening events. And
Mm.
I just loved the community that came from that.
Mm.
And
Mm.
it was working really well. But once that sort of was over was when I was whisked over to Australia for a year. And I then started I actually converted it to an online program. And
Right.
this was a long time ago before
Mm.
anyone was
Mm.
really doing online courses.
Mm.
So my whole career has been a little bit like that moving around has actually shaped it because I've had to adapt and do something a little bit different. So yeah, so I then got into that. I brought out a book around nutrition and
Mm.
probably, especially over the last, say, 6 to 8 years, have focused more and more on what can we do in workplaces? How can we help leaders of workplaces actually make their workplaces not caged hen mentality kind of workplaces, but actually
Mm.
places where people have this positive, energized culture, and that's the norm. So
Mm.
I just love now focusing on that.
Mm.
I'm not
Mm.
doing any one-on-one training, any group
Yeah.
training. But I really admire those that do and love it, and loved all the people that I've seen that have mentored, that have come through, that are still out
Mm.
there on the
Mm.
coalface, inspiring people day in, day out. It's amazing.
Your snack on exercise movement was a big part of what you just described. I mean,
Yeah,
a
actually, I was kind
big
of skipped
passion.
over that. Yeah, when we were
Yeah,
living
yeah. So
in Ottawa, I managed to do
yeah.
a TED talk, which was
Mm.
one of those big life, hairy, audacious goals. And I got
Yeah.
accepted to do a TED talk at TEDx Oneonta in New
Yeah.
York. And it was on this idea of snack on exercise.
Mm.
Even when we're busy, we still find time to brush our teeth. So if that's 2 minutes morning and night, what if you
Mm.
could spend 4 little minutes, not
Mm.
just to look after this small part of your body, but to look after your entire body?
Mm.
And so yeah, people can watch the TED talk. Just Google snack on exercise and you'll find
Yep.
it.
Yep.
And the whole idea, and that was lovely. It was at a time when I was really involved in the TEDx conferences, which is where we met.
Yep. Yep.
I spoke regularly at the TEDx conventions for a number of years, and through that made lots of great contacts with amazing trainers who then put together these little 1 and 2 minute video clips of here's something you
Right.
could do, get up from your desk, just do a squat reach, let's just do a lunge, let's just do a hip mobilizer, let's
Yep.
whatever it is.
Yep.
And we shared those. To be honest, it's a bit like my baby that I've then just put to
Mm.
the side and kind of neglected because while I am really passionate about the idea of people snacking on exercise, and ultimately I think it is just part of the massive movement that we need to help turn the tide on the diabetes stats and
Mm.
most of all the
Mm.
depression stats that we're
Mm.
seeing here in New Zealand and around the world. I think if we can get more people moving more often through the day, it's going to make a massive difference for mental well-being.
Yep.
But while that is still true, it's really challenging when you've got multiple things you can do and you can only put love and energy into so many things at a time. So
Mm.
it's
Mm.
sort of just sitting to the side there. There's a website, snackonexercise.com.
Okay.
But to be honest, I would love to find someone who's equally as passionate about it as me, who would love to take it to the next step and create the app or,
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
it further. That might be someone listening into the show. I don't know.
Mm. You never know.
But yeah, the TED Talk is there, and I speak regularly about that concept as a key part of how do
Mm.
you energize yourself in your day.
Yeah. Yeah. And so true. So true. That's interesting. So you could well be looking for someone to sort of pick up the baton and carry it forward for you.
Yeah, I think if I found someone who genuinely had that same passion about the concept, but just had the time and energy to
Yeah.
devote to it, it would be
Yeah.
amazing. Because
Yeah.
like I've got my business plan actually here, open on another window on my computer because I'm meeting with my business coach tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, this is still part. I've got the book that I want to write and I've got all the things, but I just, yeah, my husband's in the military and he talks about, in military speak, they talk about main effort. You've got to have a main
Right.
effort, and that's where you get cut through and that's where you get breakthrough.
Okay.
And I think in business sense, it's really key as well. It's like, for all trainers, it's like you've got to have your niche your
Mm,
thing that you're
mm,
known for. And when I
mm,
meet a trainer and I say, so what do you specialize in? And oh, it's a bit of everything, really, you know.
mm, mm.
Sometimes we say that because we think that's the right way to go. And I know as hard as it is, if you're listening into this and you're thinking, oh, but that's me, then my biggest advice will be, well, actually find what is your niche. Who do you love working with? Who do you love training? And actually really stick to be the best trainer in the world for that niche group. Yes, you can train other people outside of the niche, but
Yeah,
know what your niche is. So I guess for me at the moment, it's just not my main effort, but
yeah,
I would,
yeah,
love
yeah.
to find someone who it could be.
You've got a massive collection of books and paperwork there behind you. Obviously, the books that you've written. The one
Yeah.
you talked about first. Now, I haven't read it, but I'm very aware of it because it's about food, it's about nutrition, but there's also that French connection. And am I right in
Yeah.
saying, is it a great grandmother who was French?
Yeah, I think it's like 5 generations back
Oh,
in one of
okay.
my grandmothers. Yeah, my mum likes doing family history. So we
Yeah,
visited some of our French cousins in France and things.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I wrote the book Real Food, Less Fuss. And
Mm,
part of it was, yeah, I went on exchange to France when I was 18 and just discovered the French attitude to food and
yes.
I really love your food and also respect your food. And I
Mm,
went from 6 months into my exchange, putting on so much weight that my clothes didn't fit me. And I would look into my closet and go, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I've got no money to replace these. Oh,
yeah.
to be noticing, suddenly started to pay attention to how everyone else around me was eating and
Mm,
adopting this French attitude to food, which is often called the French paradox, that, yeah, they do eat white bread and beautiful pastries and things like that, but they eat in a way that they have so much respect for food. They slow down, they sit down, they pay attention and eat, and
mm,
it's enjoyment, but then there's not all the snacking in between.
yeah.
So there's a whole lot more I could say about that, but that's a big part of my book, Real Food, Less Fuss. It's not so much a cookbook, but more a whole
Mm,
philosophy on how to eat well, how to overcome cravings, how to have a positive relationship with food, and
yeah.
most of all, how to save tons of time. So how to quadruple batch cook, for example, create a
Yeah.
freezer library so that you've just got lots of nutritious meals that you're ready to take out. Lots of little practical tips around that. So
Brilliant.
yeah, it kind of came out. I didn't intend to set out and write a cookbook as such, but
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
evolved from me explaining how to use my weekly menu planner, which had several nights of cooking, and it kind of just grew. Yeah. So
Fantastic. I remember a little bit younger than you. I remember about 15 or 16 doing a French exchange and
oh,
having a lump of dark chocolate shoved into a baguette for breakfast
oh,
and thinking,
divine.
I'm in heaven. What I
Mm.
want to stay here. This is amazing. I'm used to, something completely different growing up in the UK.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
it's quite a different approach, and unfortunately, they put me off oysters because they loved them so much. But
Okay.
the whole sitting down, long meal. The head of the household, the father, he'd always have his red wine to go with his whatever they were eating, and they would separate out food that we would normally put on one plate. So
Yes.
you'd have all this, I know, but
So good.
nice to sort of nostalgically remember my French exchange. You've had the main meal, but then a plate of salad comes out afterwards,
Yeah.
uh, and then your dessert would come after the cheese, which came after the
Yeah.
salad. So
Mhm.
it's spread out. That's what elongates the meal, helps
Yeah.
the digestion, helps the absorption, and of course the whole family is sitting around the table for a lot longer than 5 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing.
Brilliant.
My husband and I went back and we lived there and I worked
Mm,
maybe 15 years ago before we had kids. I had
mm.
an hour 45 for my lunch break. And I said to my boss, who was also my host dad, can I just have a half-hour lunch and can I just finish like an hour 15 early? And he's like, no, Lauren, you've got to respect the hours, you've got to be available.
Ah,
So, okay. So I thought I would get my workout in. I thought I would do so much. And you know what I did? We'd go home, which is about 5 minute drive to the next little village. We'd finish off warming through lunch, whatever had been prepared. We'd have
mm,
our entree, our salad, we'd have our main meal, we'd have our cheese and yogurt and fruit, and
mm.
we'd have a good discussion. And then we'd have about 10 minutes, maybe have a little cat nap on the couch, and we'd go back to work. And that was just
Brilliant.
the way you did it. And
Yeah, yeah.
it's amazing actually having and taking that time. It is
Mm,
a whole
mm.
different approach to food. It's amazing.
Totally is. And I think people should be buying that book if they haven't already bought it. If they're not familiar with that approach, that culture to food, it's so important. We really miss so many tricks in the rest of the Western world. Tell us about the other book. So the other one is the newer book, the one which
Mm.
is more relevant to the work that you're doing now. Thriving
Yeah.
Leaders, Thriving Teams.
Yes,
Fantastic.
it is.
It looks a chunky book as well. That must have taken a bit of time to put together.
It is. It did. I did actually cut a whole chapter out to try and get it down. What is it? It's 200,
Ah,
it's 326 pages. So
wow.
but what it's about really is two things. The first half is how you can thrive as an
Mm,
individual, as a leader. And I believe everyone's a leader. You're the leader of
mm,
your own life. The way you show
mm,
up matters. So the first bit is how you thrive personally as a leader. And the second half is how do you cultivate a thriving workplace team or team environment or a family environment or sporting team, whatever it is. It applies everywhere. And so I've got this 6-part model on, building trust and belonging in your team, boosting energy and
mm,
effectiveness, how to address stress, prevent burnout, how to use recognition to get the best out of your people, and how to keep measuring and evolving what you're doing. And I shouldn't mention the first one, but the first one is lead self, which is
yep.
kind of what the whole front half of the book is
Mm,
about. I've got these 5 live well principles, which are,
yep.
about mindset and nutrition and movement and restorative practices so that you stay in balance. So it's kind of, yeah, all of my philosophy actually really packed as concisely as possible into a book with lots of stories and lots of examples. And
Right.
yeah, I'm actually have to say it was a whole year writing it. And we had a bit of a tumultuous time last year. I'm not sure if you know, our
Mm,
home
yep.
got flooded in my home office. I was literally
Yes.
up on the roof texting my designer the day I was about to sign off the cover for the book saying, sorry, can't make the meeting. We've
Yeah.
just been flooded. I'll be in touch. And it was like a month before I even talked to her again.
Yeah.
So that was quite disruptive. But
Mm,
yeah, overall has been a real lesson in resilience, which is another whole
mm,
story.
mm.
But yeah, very pleased and very proud to have the book out and to see leaders actually really using it day to day is great.
Fantastic. Almost like a manual that they should probably have on their desk.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, I've had a lot of feedback from people just saying, it's great to dip in and out of, which I like about books
Yeah.
because I'm quite structured in the way that I think through things. And so it's very much laid out. There's the intro, there's my 5 live well principle models, the 6-part leadership model, and you
Yeah.
can dip in and out of what you want and need. And I guess following on from I mentioned before, I created the online course for Get Fit Feel Fabulous. Now, because I'm working mostly with leaders and workplaces, now I've created an online course that's called Leading So People Thrive. And it's like the
Yeah.
companion course to the book. So
Yeah.
for those people that don't like just reading a book on their own,
Mm, mm.
I guide them through essentially, and I normally do group cohorts actually over Zoom,
Yep.
which fortunately I've been using for years. Thank goodness for that through COVID and everything. As a speaker, and suddenly all your overseas conferences are cancelled overnight.
Yep.
Zoom's
Yep.
a bit of a lifesaver. So I love helping leaders actually really take practical action to implement some of these things. And also well-being's not just an individual responsibility in terms of it's not just about, oh, we'll run some workshops and tell the staff how to be healthy and then they can
Mm,
just take care of
mm,
it.
mm.
That's great, but it's also about how do we as leaders set our team up for success? How do we design good work that doesn't cause stress that then, so we're
Yeah.
not just pushing people off the top of the cliff and then catching them with the ambulance at the bottom.
Yeah.
So I
Absolutely.
like being able to take both sides. I still do the educating, empowering stuff for teams, but I also love working with leaders to actually shift the culture.
Mm,
That's the real
mm,
goal.
mm.
Yeah.
Do you find that those leaders are surprised by any of the stuff that you share with them, or is it things that they know but just aren't doing, or is it a combination?
Yeah, I think it's both. Often
Mm,
people are really surprised by the stats around, the fact that you can virtually triple someone's productivity by boosting their
mm,
well-being. Looking at the, return on investment of investing in workplace well-being is $5 for every dollar that we spend.
mm.
Some of those stats, if you can improve the psychological safety rating of your workplace from poor to good, you can save, it's actually $1,887. Fun fact. So for a team of 55, it's $100,000. For a
Yeah.
team of 550, it's $1 million a year you can
Yeah.
save.
Yeah.
So
Massive.
that's pretty startling, and I get excited sharing that because obviously it's not just the right thing to do to look after your
Mm,
staff and the legal requirement in terms of the
mm.
Health and Safety Act,
Yeah.
but it's actually going to make such a difference at a business bottom line level.
Yeah.
I think the things though that often it comes down to are really simple things that often
Mm,
leaders know they could do, perhaps should do, but it's what I call the knowledge action gap.
yeah.
Things
Yeah.
we know we could do or should do, and then there's that gap. And so my goal is always to help people to close the gap, which is, snacking on exercise is one example.
Yeah.
And often it's little things like, I realize I should really get away from my desk and go out for a walk and set the example for others to be able to do the same. Or I should go and spend time with people in the staff room rather than
Mm,
just sitting through at my desk
mm,
working through. So sometimes leaders just understand those little examples of what they do, how those unspoken rules that they create through their behavior actually flows on to their team.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was talking to an insurance broker who's a colleague who was describing his daughter's experience getting into the workforce, and she'd worked for a number of different companies where she just wasn't satisfied. The culture was clearly not where it needed to be, with 2 or 3 organizations, and then started working for 2 degrees and just transformally different, in terms of the culture, psychological safety, not editing her work after she'd finished it, just little things which added up to a hell of a lot in terms of the place that she really wanted to get up and go to every day, compared to these previous organizations which just didn't quite hit the mark. Fascinating how different organizations, obviously different sized organizations, and the caliber of people sometimes go with that, but her desire to want to get up and go to work rather than work from home was really strong.
Good.
And
it's encouraging to hear. Yeah, and it's just small things.
Exactly.
It's like, as a leader, how do you start a meeting? I was doing some coaching with a new leader recently, and she had a big win, and it was a simple thing, but she just decided to get her team members to actually go into the meeting room for their team meetings rather than all sitting at their desk, all typing away on their computers. And initially her staff were like, why should we go into the meeting room? And they just couldn't get it. And but for me, it just seems so obvious. It's like, well, no, let's get them actually in a meeting room. Let's get them to focus on each other. Let's build some connection. Let's have some respect and some appreciation. Let's share some high fives with each other. Let's make the meeting a bit more fun. And I often talk about little things like, start with a question of the day in the meeting, and that's going to set the tone. It's going to build connection. And actually, the latest stats you probably heard, Dr. Jared Hart, AUT, has talked about the burnout stats now going up and up. It was 1 in 9 before COVID, and then it was 1 in 3 Kiwis. Now it's 1 in 2 of us that is at severe risk of burnout, 57% of us. And the 2 things that are driving this, his research showed, is we're 14 times more likely to burn out when we have job insecurity, which there's a lot of that, and we're 30 times more likely to burn out when we have loneliness. So, I do a lot of work around building connection in teams, and never been more important to actually take time to do that. So it's little things day to day that leaders do that create the culture in a team. So that's brilliant.
Absolutely. And it can be easy to sort of miss those things and accept the way that things have been done in an organization when if you're coming in and it's already an existing role. But for someone outside like yourself to be able to look at it and question it and say, well what about, why don't we try this, and this? And those things all add up and help create that culture change. So bravo. You talked about handing the mantle on in terms of snacking on exercise. I noticed that there's a similar thing happening with you in terms of Robin Pearson and the Time Queen. Is that right?
Yeah, I love it. You're so well researched, Rich. Yes.
Thank you very much.
So Robin Pierce is known as the Time Queen. She also happens to be my mother-in-law. Not sure if you knew that.
No.
So I'm married to her youngest son.
Yep.
And Robin and I have worked for many years together. She's amazing, vibrant, incredible lady, very switched on. She's written 7 books on time management.
Okay.
And she's a brilliant speaker. She's also a CSP. She was the first CSP in New Zealand, and now I'm the latest, the most recently awarded CSP in New Zealand. So there you go.
Yeah.
So essentially she's retiring and passing over her time management programs, which is her getting a grip on time programs. And so we've delivered them together and run retreats and business sessions over the years. So I feel really privileged now, as she still gets inquiries coming in and she just refers them on to me, and I get to go out and help people. And she's still got her books, and I'm now doing the training. So it's a really lovely arrangement.
That works well. I had to laugh out loud watching your bloopers that you so bravely put up onto LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And the fact
I got the idea. A friend of mine had done a similar thing. She was trying to do a thing promoting her business, and it was about batteries, and she kept having to say, we know batteries over and over again. And she put up this blooper reel, and it just engaged me, and I watched it. And it made me go, I want to watch it when the advertising came out, rather than just let me just show you my advertising. So I kind of just thought, well, we should do that. Once we had a laugh. If you people watch the blooper reel, if you follow on my LinkedIn, you'll see it. And we had a really good laugh. And we also did record a whole range of really good little top time tips, just 1-minute tips. So yeah, we had a lot of fun doing that.
I just cracked up laughing the fact that she kept getting her name mixed up with your name. I'm like,
No, her
come
name's
on.
Robin Pearson. She was like, "Hi, I'm Lauren Parsons," and we just laughed. And then she became Robin Parsons, then I became
Yeah.
Lauren Pearson. Oh,
Yeah,
it was,
it was complete perfect crossover. I was just like, this is getting funnier by the minute.
yeah. So yeah, no, happy to share
Ah,
our embarrassment. It's good. It's good to laugh at
yeah.
yourself.
It's important to do those things, isn't it? Because I mean, a lot of that stuff on LinkedIn is very much more serious and business-like, and you know, to have that going on LinkedIn is great because it kind of makes you everybody real.
Yeah, nice. Thank you.
So around this sort of time, I like to start winding up with a request for top tips. So, Lauren Parsons, what would your top tips be for exercise or health professionals out there, either early in business or certainly, you know, within the first few years of business, wanting to, I guess, solidify what they do, things that have worked for you in the past, because you've got lots of history and experience in multiple different roles. So what would yours be?
Yeah. Okay, number one tip would be go ahead and watch Simon Sinek's TED Talk, which is on how great leaders inspire action, I think it's called, or just if you Google "start with why," which is his key catchphrase. And he's got a brilliant book, Start With Why. But watch the TED Talk, 18 minutes. Always recommend that as a great starting place. And what he talks about is how people don't care what you do, they care why you do it. So every time that I speak, I always share that my vision is to equip and inspire you to boost your health and happiness and to create a positive ripple out into the world. If you can take one thing away, you can apply it, it's going to have that positive ripple to others. And I'm really passionate about that. And so if you haven't already figured it out, figure out what is your vision, what's the thing you want to do in the world, and then get really good at sharing that and communicating that in everything you do. And it just makes everything easy, you know, from a business model point of view. So the reason you exist is because you are going to do X, Y, Z, and people care about that. The next thing is, as I alluded to earlier, is know who you want to look after, who you want to serve, who's your ideal target market client, and, you know, really picture not just their demographics, but their psychographics, which is what are their needs, what are their desires, what are their pain points, what are their fears. And once you understand that, and you can perhaps talk to some of those people and find out from them what do they need help with, then you can start to offer that. That's really key. Those are probably the two key things. And then I think the third thing is really just lead self well. You know, I constantly have to come back to my own principles and practices and ideas. And, you know, it's things like, you know, having my morning routine, 4-second hugs with my loved ones every day, getting outdoors for a walk or a run every day, those kind of what I call my non-negotiables. Being really clear on that, and having great boundaries, being fully present with your clients, or when you're doing your marketing or your admin or whatever it is you're doing, be really present. But then also when you're switched off, when you're having time with your friends, your family, just be present for that. And I think if you can get those things right, if you know who you want to serve and why you're really doing it, and you look after you along the way, then yeah, you're kind of set. I mean, obviously there's more things within that, but those are the ones that kind of bubble to the top for me.
Yeah, brilliant. And they're the big ones as well. You know, some people talk about how they manage their finances or how they do their marketing, but I think the thing I like about yours is that they are really high level things. And as you say, if you get those right, all the other stuff should take care of itself.
Yeah. And perhaps the other thing to add is, from a business point of view, is, you know, find the business model that works really well for you. So for me, you know, and obviously one of the challenging things, for years I spent a lot of time coaching and training, starting out personal trainers, and often you start and you're just so keen to get a client that, you know, you've got your 5:30 a.m. client and your lunchtime client and your evening client, and you just get burnt out. So having strong boundaries and finding a model, and that's where I moved quite quickly onto group training, because it was just a much better model. It was better value for them. I enjoyed it more. We got to do big events, but that may not suit everyone. You know, if you're more of an introvert, you may not want to do group training. So it's finding what's going to be your unique, you know, point of difference. What do you love doing? Who do you love doing it with? And then really stick to your guns on that.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Thanks, Lauren. I like those a lot. And you probably noticed I was looking down, scribbling while you were talking through those. So I'll make sure those go in the show notes along with our video link, but also any other bits that you would like in there, some socials, or how could people contact you if they wanted to reach out?
Well, always lovely to connect with people on LinkedIn. So just look me up on LinkedIn. I think it's Lauren Parsons NZ.
Yeah.
The company's
Okay.
Lauren Parsons Wellbeing. And
Yeah.
yeah, just connect on LinkedIn would be great. But
Yeah.
otherwise, yeah, the website's there, Lauren Parsons Wellbeing. There's a store if anyone's interested in the books or things like that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
always happy to
Yep.
connect. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh,
Fantastic.
and
I
I
will.
also have a podcast, should I mention? Because here we got there's
Oh,
amazing podcast listeners. So my podcast is called the Thrive TV
yes.
Show.com. So people can head to thrivetvshow.com, and yeah, we've done 91 episodes with people from all around the world, and it's all about helping people boost their health, energy, productivity. So hopefully there's some
Yeah.
good golden
Yeah.
nuggets in there for your listeners as well.
No, I'm sure there are. I'm an avid listener. I have listened to a number of different episodes. In fact, I've bought books of people that were on your podcast.
Nice.
That's how motivated I was.
Good on
Um,
you.
and I like your intro. You talk about, meetings and meeting rooms and getting that social connection. And when you introduce your guest, the first thing you do is you ask them a bunch of questions. And one of them
Yeah.
is spots or stripes. And I don't need to ask you that because you're wearing spots.
Spots today, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually would say both, but yeah, no, spots today, yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Brilliant.
that. We do spots or stripes, beach or mountaintop, it's just kind
Yeah.
of a fun, quick round.
It's it's just fun. It's
Yeah.
a nice way of people sort of gathering themselves before they start talking about the other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. Anyway, thank you, Lauren. It's really, really appreciated. Great to connect. And thank you again for your time.
Pleasure. Thanks to everyone listening in.